On the show today, we have RiskScout's very own Justin Fischer talking about how his organization helps credit unions onboard high-risk accounts like cryptocurrency, cannabis, fintech. There's so many out there really helping credit unions out in this area who want to be creative and helping small businesses out there. So really good stuff here from Justin. So I hope you check it out. Welcome back to our show. And on today's program, we have Mr. Justin Fischer from RiskScout. Justin, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great, Mike. Thanks for having me.
You are welcome. Welcome to the show. And today we're talking about RiskScout and what you guys do. You're an onboarding to high-risk accounts like crypto, cannabis, fintech, et cetera, et cetera. So we're going to talk all about that. But I would just want to kind of get the elevator speech question out in the beginning here. So tell us a little bit about RiskScout. What are you guys all about?
Yeah, so we're a pretty new company, about 3 years old.
Okay.
Came from all the online banking, core. I've pretty much done everything in all of banking and credit unions, as you can imagine. And one of the things that we saw was a big challenge around dealing with higher risk banking, so higher risk markets. And you know, look, you can count 24 or even up to 36 different types of business types. So anything from cash intensives to MSBs and ATMs, which have been around a long time. Yeah. And of course, the sexier ones everybody want to talk about is cannabis, hemp, cryptocurrency.
Obviously, yeah.
I mean, you know, there's a lot of institutions out there doing online gaming sponsorship. Yeah. And I just saw the stat recently. There's almost 100 institutions now sponsoring fintechs. So, you know, doing a sort of FBO account and doing technology sponsorship, which carries in its own way compliance challenges and challenges in terms of, you know, reporting back up to all those acronyms that we love to talk to. So RiskScout was essentially found to help fill that gap where you're working with these markets and your existing tools just aren't quite cutting it.
Okay. Can you give me an example of how it would work? I mean, obviously you work with financial institutions, in this case, credit unions. So can you share with me an example of how it works?
Yeah, absolutely. So
you guys step in and help out?
Yeah. So we, first of all, we have a services team. So ex-examiners are on our team, BSA officers, all those kind of people to make sure that what you do here is going to be kosher with the, you know, whether it's NCUA, any part of the FFIEC, any of your regulators, state or federal. And so first thing we're doing is we're talking to you about policy. So, let's look at the case of hemp, for example. It's federally legal. It is a cousin to cannabis, so it can be grown and potentially turn into THC, for example. But it's definitely a different set of regulations and concerns. Official regs out there. So what we're looking at is examiner guidance from, you know, these different markets. Our team will come in and say, here's what we've seen, best practices from examiners and our institutions who've gone through lots of exams, how they've grown. But one of the fundamental problems is it's not a back office BSA thing, meaning like you don't let your treasury team go crazy and sell a bunch of these businesses and then find out later that you got to deal with them in BSA. For one, most of our institutions only bank about 50% of the market they see. So you don't even have to turn on a neon sign. These businesses start coming to you, but you know, you find out it's a smoke shop and, you know, maybe they're doing something, with the product that you're not interested in. Maybe just in general, they're not economically viable, which we see a lot of that. Yeah. So we built an onboarding tool that allows you to essentially virtualize the branch. So especially during the pandemic when branches were closed, you could send this URL out and you could bank anywhere in the country, right? The credit union can basically say, I want to go after these markets with these specific URLs. And the best part is as soon as the business comes in, they get filtered. Oh, they're not even in a state that we're going to bank, or they're, you know, doing a type of high risk business we don't want to mess with. So we filter all those out. And so that's a big part of what we built. Then it comes through the chain and we do a business verification piece. So we look and see, oh, this is a licensed business. They are doing what they say they are, or maybe they aren't. Maybe they're hemp, but they're also related to cannabis, or they're doing the trifecta, ATMs, cryptocurrency, you name it. And then, of course, the final part of it is just the general compliance that, you know, there's some great tools out there. You're probably familiar with Verifin, Rigo. There's a great set of BSA tools, but most of them were developed a long time ago when there weren't so many of these high risk, business types. And so we have solved a lot of the problems that, that they don't work on. For example, me just talking to a hemp farm maybe once a month to get, a picture of his field or some extra compliance information. Really existing institutions have had to make those those businesses come into the branch and talk to someone in order to do compliance. And so that's a big part of our tool set, is very modern structure. Okay.
So I'm gathering you guys are the due diligence tool for credit unions here in this space, it sounds like, right?
Exactly. Okay. And not specific. There are some, vendors that are kind of specific to the THC world, and, that's great. But, what happens is definitely a gray market. So, you're going to have people who do lots of different high risk things, and understanding their type and then putting the appropriate amount of compliance around them while still trying to grow in those markets. I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars in deposits, fee revenue, loans. There's also merchant processing on the hemp side that's 5%, not 2.5%. So there's a massive market here, but you got to grow in the right way, right? You don't top over your compliance team on that, and you can't afford to hire 12 more people in compliance.
No doubt. So you guys are there doing all this research, gathering all this information, and again, doing the due diligence for the credit union, because the credit union may not have the resources, like you just said, to do this type of stuff. So you guys are coming in there to complement this activity and this checkup, so to speak. So
and we don't take it away. Like, we're not a third-party service that does all of that as like an extended surrogate BSA team. We actually give you the tools to do it.
Oh, sweet. Even better.
That's the best part, is like most of our institutions will go from, like, I have one here in the East Coast, and they were seeing 5 businesses come through a branch in the hemp space. And it was taking them 12 weeks to open those accounts because they would go through all these things. So we came in, built the right size program for them. And now they're opening those accounts in about 24 hours. And all across the country, not just in North Carolina. And then on top of that, they didn't have to hire the 10 more people they thought they were going to require to do. And they're seeing about 75 to 100 new businesses every month. So, so that's the difference in, like, using tools, and not forcing people to come through sort of the small conduit, which is the branch sometimes, right?
So the pain points you guys are answering here, obviously resource challenged shops. And what are some other pain points that you guys are answering here?
Yeah, so a couple of different ways. So if you're just on the compliance side for a second, you're looking at your institutions trying to grow. And, there's a lot of stressors in growth, by the way, between money center institutions and fintechs and everybody else. And everyone wants to go bank a chime. And how does your credit union fight and keep the space and grow in new spaces? So one of the big things we fight right away is just giving growth opportunities so that smaller institutions don't have to look at basically exit strategies to get out of the spaces. They can grow without expecting it to be just in their community space. The one big pain point is growth. So people that are looking for growth, these new markets offer that. By the way, they're all community businesses in your state. It's not talking about Texas, where I'm at, and having to go bank California necessarily. Like, businesses are waiting for you right in your backyard.
Yeah, don't mess with California. All right. There's so many hurdles you got to go through.
California is great, but there's definitely a misconception that hemp, for example, isn't available. Well, it's in every state now. Every state has a program, and agricultural states are huge, especially when there's no THC, because hemp is a big opportunity there. But yeah, so that's one of the big pain points, is growth. And then the other big pain point is, generally compliance and staff. There's not a BSA officer in the country who's like, hey, I'm good. I've got plenty of people. I'm happy with what I'm doing. It doesn't matter the institution size, right? So we really help to, give them tools that they still have to make the decisions. You might see all this ML, machine learning, and AI out there. The reality is their brain and what they're looking at, seeing those patterns and making those decisions is super important. So they are essentially the Wizard of Oz, being able to have a lot more leverage there, right, to do that work. And then finally, I'd say, so we did growth, which is also kind of on the treasury and cash management side, then the compliance side. And, I think overall, a lot of these business types you already have. So it's not like you're going out to get them. And so you're struggling with, do I offboard them? I can tell you almost every institution I talk to has a business type that they're trying to struggle with. Oh, it's the nephew of the board, or it's this guy, like my family farm in South Texas, been banking with the same bank for 30 years. And, what happens now when your institution says, we just don't have enough staff, or this is just getting on the edge? I got to kick you out. Like, and you may be the greatest person in the world, but I just don't understand you, right? Like, I don't know how I can manage you. And that's another pain point we're solving.
Yeah. And it sounds like you guys, because the timing of this is really, really good, obviously, because credit unions are looking to do all sorts of things to really differentiate themselves, obviously get into the cannabis business, crypto, obviously, and so many more out there. So to have a resource like what you guys provide, oh my gosh, that would be just the world to them, especially a lot of the ones that are, again, who are resource challenged, who may not have the bandwidth to do all this stuff. So Yeah, this would be fantastic. Is that another reason why you guys started this up too? Just to kind of cover all the bases out here for
I worked with community institutions, both bank and credit union, my entire career. One of the things I learned about them is that they are the heartbeat of the community, right? Main Street institutions, not necessarily Wall Street institutions, as we saw in 06. And I personally had in my credit union account for a long time for my business. I've had loan opportunities I wouldn't have had at Bank of America or anywhere else. And so and then, like I said, my dad's actually retiring back down to the farm and looking to grow industrial hemp. Wow. So I know his institution is going to kick him out, right? And, I think it's super important to solve two problems, which is how do we find growth? Yeah. By the way, you can't just keep opening up branches. I mean, that's really what got us here, but that's not what's getting us to the next level. Not to mention some of the cores, I'm not going to name names, but they take a long time to help you with those projects, right? So unless you're a $10 billion institution, you're probably not getting expedited service, right? And so those ways aren't available to grow. So here's a growth opportunity, at the same time helping community businesses that are in your space. So I think that's really the reason we do what we do.
Gotcha. Last question here for you. Goals. What goals do you want? What do you hope to achieve here besides being this great resource for credit unions? Any other goals on the docket?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time helping institutions look at strategy all across the board, compliance and growth. I think my biggest concern is that a lot of institutions, both bank and credit union, are putting their charters up for sale. They're saying, hey, there's really not much else we can do. Yeah. Yes, the brand strategy isn't working for us. So I see a lot of consolidation. And look, some of consolidation is good, but I think there's a lot of opportunity to bank some of these markets and bank these community businesses. And my goal is to try to make those connections. And we have businesses, literally flooding in every day asking us where it's an institution they can work with because they've been mishandled or mistreated by other institutions. And it's really great to see them get accounts and, really thrive in business and community, credit unions who are going to look at the relationship and they're going to go forward. I know a lot of retail, credit unions who are also building commercial and cash management programs that are like, hey, how are we going to be successful building this program up? Try a new market, try a market that's been looking for you, right? And there's great credit unions all across the country who progressively jumped into those spaces. So goals for us are just to honestly, first and foremost, educate. It's not everybody's cup of tea to work with any of these specific markets. True. Sometimes you're just interested in one. Maybe you already have MSBs and ATMs you're struggling with. We're here to help you with that. Yeah. Maybe, God forbid, you're under compliance concern, an MRA, something like that. Again, we can help you with that. But the goal is to educate. And then if we can be of service, it's been my entire career. If I can help you with anything I've learned, I'm happy to share it.
Yeah. And to be there for these small businesses who need the help. So why not set yourself up to go out there and help them? So yeah. And
I'll tell you the alternative, Mike. My dad just told me recently he was looking for a starter loan to get him some new equipment. And, they're payday loans. They're 22%. And they're funded by VCs that are essentially funding these alternative lenders who don't have a lot of rules. So again, I'd rather see him walk into his community credit union and get the business's services he needs.
Oh, couldn't agree with you more. And so we go to RiskScout.com, I'm assuming that's the URL.
Yeah, come to RiskScout.com. We've got great webinars, a bunch of content you can download for free that helps you through the growth side plus the compliance side. And we do offer like a free compliance checkup. So if anybody needs to look over their policies and see where they're at, again, it's a combination of solving for compliance in the background, but also helping the biz dev group at the credit union learn to move into growth opportunities. So we're happy to share. And again, doesn't offend me if you're not interested in those markets after understanding it, but learning about it is the first and foremost thing we need to do.
I agree. Well, good stuff, Justin. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think you're spot on with the timing here. And again, there's so many opportunities out there for credit unions to kind of venture out and help these small businesses, and then to bring you guys in to kind of help out, be that resource as well, be just the icing on the cake, I would think. So yeah, good stuff. All right. Anything else, Justin? Any final words?
No, just telling you a lot of these things aren't as complicated as we tend to pretend or imagine that they are. So I'm happy to share that. Happy to share some more stories. Happy to share, lots of background anytime. So thank you so much for having me, and more than open to help anyone out.
Right on. Well, we'll put the link in the show notes so people can click on it and check it out and give you guys a call if they have any questions. And I'm thinking they probably will. So good stuff. All right, Justin, I'm gonna let you get back at it. Appreciate the time as always, and well done.
Thanks, Mike. Take care.
You are.